Welcome now to the show, Tyler, Ty, Teapot, Raptor, sports card investor, spitballing cards. Did I miss anything, Ty?
Market movers. Yeah, the list could go on. I've got older nicknames I won't say on this show, but
Very good. Well, thank you for being here. This has been a really fun series so far to start putting together and hearing about people's less expensive cards. So, what type of card were you looking to talk about today?
I wanted to talk about the gold medallions from Ultra in the late 90s. Cards that I think are, I won't use the phrase slept on by any stretch. I think they're probably appropriately valued based on their rarity, but some of the earliest really like recurring golds that we saw in products and going back to the 90s, which is my favorite generation. While I do like a lot of other eras, pretty much all eras, the 90s will always have a sweet spot for me because that's when I grew up collecting. And the gold medallions out of Ultra are just spectacular. So that's what I want to kind of unpack a little bit.
I love the medallion cards. There's some of my favorites, both for baseball, for WNBA, and for others as well. They look fantastic. Of course, platinums get all the love, right? Platinums are the
Correct.
serial numbered ones, and there are some one of ones, but it's the platinums that people seem to really target. But the golds are really beautiful. So I assume you have quite a few in your collection.
I have quite a few. I've done like entire player runs of different athletes. Terrell Owens was a random one that I completed like last year, and I have them. I've been working on getting all of my cards organized through several moves and different things. But you can see around me, I've got a lot of them on the shelves, and that's just like a segment. My whole office is wrapped in shelves with cards, and I've got a couple of Grant Hills up on my shelf. I just found this one, this Mariano Rivera in a little binder. So yeah, I love picking them up, and you can get them very affordably. The platinum medallions are obviously serial numbered, which is why there's the allure of those. And but my personal preference, just aesthetically, a lot of times is that I think the golds look better than some of the platinums do. So yeah, they're really, really cool.
What's interesting is for a while they were out of 99, right? Depending on what sport and what set, and then early 2000s they shifted. They started doing some die cuts, right? You started seeing some rounded edges.
Yep.
They became out of 50 for some sets as well, but they still sort of held the aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a theme. There's no mistaking an Ultra card in general, in my opinion, when you see them year over year, even though some of the designs from the 2000s just, I think, really lacked the same aesthetic overall from what the 90s did. And I don't know, it's always hard to separate whether that's just nostalgia talking and personal preference or if there's actually something to it. But it definitely, the earlier years, platinum medallions command a more significant premium than the later years, where just serial numbered cards in general became more prevalent.
Yeah. So maybe the cards can range all over in price depending on player, but sort of what price point tends to be your sweet spot for the gold medallions?
Well, usually you won't see them. I mean, if you're just buying them raw, which is what I like to do, you won't see them, creeping up more than like 40, $50 for like the top players. But I mean, I've even got a Griffey on this list that we'll look at, I think, that had some, a little bit of edge wear and some corner issues and type stuff. And that brought it down to $10, where it's normally like in the $20 to $30 range. So these are cards, if you like to have, only graded cards in your collection, getting gold medallions in a PSA 10 can definitely command, more of a premium because they were really prone to like edge and corner kind of chipping issues. But yeah, typically I would say I stick in the $1 to $20 range for most players.
Yeah, and that's really one of the pleasant things, right, about the lower end cards is things like the corner wear or grade if it happens to be slabbed or just general wear and tear. It just doesn't seem to matter as much. There's not as much pressure on the front end or even on the back if you decide to throw it on ComC at some point.
Yep, exactly. Now, obviously, if you're talking about picking up Jordans or Kobe's, those are going to cost you more. I was lucky enough to get a couple of the Kobe's from 97 and 98 like 5 years ago for like $30 a piece at a show. But yeah, this is the one. This is the 98. I always have to pause myself because the years in the football and baseball shift up a year from the basketball. So the basketball, this design would be considered the 97, 98, which is really the first year that they started doing. Actually, it's not the first year. 95, 96, they had like the full gold medallion. And then in 96, 97, this is basketball, they went to just a little like like sort of like shadowy circle on the corner that just said like gold medallion, and it didn't actually make the card look any different. Thankfully, they reverted back. So this design is actually 98 baseball. And these are the ones that are really prone to a lot of just chipping, like, and maybe part of it's the era, but you'll see like edge fraying and all kinds of condition issues with these cards most of the time. And so this one was somebody snagged this on eBay. It wasn't me, but somebody had snagged this for $10 on eBay. Obviously, probably had to pay shipping or something. But in PSA 10 condition, one of these sold last August, of which there's only 5 for $5,000. So that'll show you the gap and the insanity that people will pay for that big grade premium versus just, I don't know, appreciating the simplicity of and the beauty of the card when you can get it for $10, maybe 20 to 30 typically if it's in a little bit better condition.
Sure. So your office is at Cards HQ in Atlanta, and
Yep.
you must see some incredible cards come and go. And you've talked yourself about your eclectic collection that you like to pull from here and pull from there. How do these? I mean, rank isn't the right word, but how do you think about these types of cards in your collection compared to some of your higher end ones, or the ones that are a little bit more expensive?
Yeah. Sometimes they're actually harder for me to let go. I spent a lot of time last year really setting my own hobby rules and like kind of guidelines for my PC as I've been curating and I acquired a lot of cards over the last 7 years. I've been really lucky, and I obviously had a lot from when I was a child too. And you reach a point where I mean, even still now, I've got stacks of cards on my desk, and you're like, okay, how do I make these more than just something that's really fun to chase and pick up and gives me that little dopamine hit and satisfaction and joy of like, cool, I found this one, and then goes into a box or a binder or somewhere else where you don't see it. I think cards are meant to be displayed. And so that's what I've done in my office. And now I will look at cards and just say like, okay, does this card meet my hobby criteria? Does it have a good photo? Does it have a good visual aesthetic eye appeal? Is it a player that I like? And if so, how many cards of that player do I have? And does that square up against like some kind of guidelines that I've set for myself? I sort of did like a tier ranking of athletes. And so I allow myself to have as many Barry Sanders cards as I want in my PC. But I won't do the same thing for, Chauncey Billups or something, like you kind of work down that list. But I can definitely come down to it where I'm like, well, I'm curating and I'm consolidating, and maybe I've always got a list of things I'm still trying to go after too. I'm much more likely a lot of times to actually move on from maybe like a higher dollar card, like $100+ card, than I am from some of these lower dollar ones. One, because that just puts money back into the pool a lot faster and with a lot less friction, and two, because it just can be difficult if this is like $1 or $2 card. If you're not setting up at a show where you have like your own value bins out or something, you're not going to get great value out of it. So I kind of like also hold them like that, with maybe the thought that eventually I'll set up at a show and I think I would have a lot of cool stuff that I could put in like the 50 cent to $5 value bins that people would really like for their PCs as well.
I have the exact same thought with the lower end cards. It's like, oh, I'm going to keep these. Someday they'll be at a show. But also, I think when you take the money equation out of it,
Yeah.
right? Because when you get the higher end card, you almost think about the end game before you even buy it or acquire it. Think, okay, if I get this, how would I move this in 6 months if I had to, or 2 years at some point? Whereas I think with some of the cards that are 10, $20 or less, I think we buy them more for the aesthetics or the memories or the nostalgia or
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
else.
definitely. And I mean, if you're somebody who's operating on just a lower hobby budget overall, like these can definitely be like the foundation and the cornerstone of your PC, and there's no shame in that whatsoever. And I've kind of worked my way up over the years by consolidating and moving and selling cards and just being intentional with a budget, to where you just end up with more of like an asset room, right, of like stuff that you can then self fund. You can fund your own hobby experience from there with. And so yeah, that's definitely the case for me. These tend to be like that foundational nostalgia piece, that it can just be really tough to let go. And in fact, I was looking even recently, another cassette, not to go down a totally different path, that I really love is a Flair Showcase from the 90s. And there was a Flair Showcase Row Zero Legacy John Stockton on Instagram that I was really, really considering pulling the trigger on. I think it was like $850. And I looked at it and I looked at it, and then I was like, I'd just go buy the Row Zero, the regular Row Zero, for like $15. like what
Yeah.
I'm just going to do that, and I'll put it in a one touch on my shelf. And I didn't, you kind of had that pause, and the legacy is definitely a better card, but it just was one of those where you sort of step outside yourself and go, I'll buy my wife flowers. I'll buy the regular zero card, and then
Right.
still have $800 left. So that was kind of my thought process with that.
Yeah, and you said it's a better card, and I sometimes will think, but a better card how, or a better card why? Because
Yeah.
there's an extra sheen, over the top of it, or because there's a serial number on the back.
Serial
I guess
number.
that could be the reason. So you mentioned the really beautiful images on these cards. So let's take a look at a few of the ones that you sent over.
Yeah.
Here, that poor baseball.
Yeah, I know. It's just zooming in. Somehow that I don't know why when I saw this, the video of Randy Johnson smoking that bird also came to mind. Just something about the ball being stuck in flight,
Yeah.
But yeah, what amazes me, if you go back to the 90s and honestly to the 2000s, it really seemed like the manufacturers put a lot of emphasis on and took pride in having great photography overall,
Yeah.
just in all the sets, like Fleer, Tops, Skybox, all of them, Upper Deck, like just so many cool pictures. And maybe that's why photography is still so important to me on cards. It drives me absolutely nuts when there's just some player like dribble carrying in an NBA, or they're just like making, sort of standing there like a dummy in baseball. The 2026 Series 1 set just came out, and a lot of the image variations are really disappointing. This one knocks it out of the park, no pun intended. I mean, you just got him mid swing, and does look like he's going to wind up underneath the ball, but who knows? Maybe not. He could make adjustments on the fly too, split second. But yeah, this is the 99 in baseball, gold medallion, and just what a great card. And I mean, you can get this for I don't know, $5, something like that. So
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite Bonds images. It reminds me of I think it's 99 Chrome McGuire. It's from the other angle because he's a righty. But you can see the ball coming in. You can see the swing ready to unload, right? And then again, you imagine that graphic of the screaming baseball from the 90s that they would have for the home runs on the baseball stadiums, and you see the ball screaming. I think that's what happened here.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're a big Barry Sanders fan. So let's pull up that.
That's my guy. My favorite athlete of all time. You remember all the most devastating moments of your fandom,
Yeah.
and this was a unique one, Barry, where it wasn't a game. It was just finding out, right before the season was supposed to start, that he wasn't coming back to play.
Yeah.
And just to put a total pit in my stomach. I'm about the same height as Barry. I modeled every movement in every sport I did after him. It was just like I had a mean juke move when I was like 10 years old. It was really fun watching him growing up. And this is a great picture. It's a little bit sneaky. I mean, he's obviously kind of mid shift, but he's also like in the middle of a sea of guys, which is sort of how he operated. He just would disappear for a minute, duck down low, and then spring back up and shoot out for 5 or 50 yards. And it's just a great one. And I also really love the font on a lot of Ultra cards. Yes. And just this font with like the foiling on it, and to me is like it doesn't even scream to me like, oh, that's very 90s. It's just interesting and kind of unique. So really love this card overall. And I like the action of him being kind of hidden in the pile, going through what was probably not a very big hole, as the line didn't give him a lot to work with many times.
Yeah, my eyes on the image go straight to his eyes. The eyes are so vivid in this picture. You wonder, what is he seeing that other running backs did not, or what is he thinking, at that moment? All right, so let's do one more, and then we will let you go. I'm actually going to try to pull up 2 photos here at the same time because the images were so similar, and I'll see what I can do here with this. So the 2 Allen Iversons, right?
Yeah.
So here's the first one here, and it looks like he's doing some sort of a semi, behind the back pass to someone who's cutting toward the basket baseline or something like that. But
yep,
fun image.
Awesome image.
You have any idea who that is? Who's looking on?
That looks like a Bullets jersey. That might be
Calvert Cheney, maybe.
I was guessing Cheney, but I don't think that's Cheney. That was my first guess. I'm not sure. I recognize him. that's one of those that'll pop into my head later today when I'm having my lunch.
Right. Okay. And we'll do, let's do then one more. A very, very similar image.
Yeah.
Again, but this one from a different angle, of course. And then at this time, the font is similar, but the coloring on the font is different. They put a little bit more color into it.
I've and I love the contrast in the 97s versus the 98s in the gold medallion effect, and that the one is sort of that like sparkly, and it's more of a I guess it's more of like a true gold color, like actual gold, what a lot of gold looks like, kind of trending toward that white gold, with the sparkly texture and effect on it. And then this year's just more of that, full flood gold on it. But I've looked at this card so many times. I have both of these in my collection. I'm in a box over here, and I've looked at, like, I guess the ball went behind his back, but it almost looks like his hand is in front of him. So I've tried to what's really happening in this picture? Was the ball coming at him? Did the ball get knocked away? Is he actually doing a behind the back pass? But yeah, when you think about AI, for me, I think about kind of like three different typical movements. One, obviously the crossover was what he was most known for. Two is kind of getting into the lane with those little floaters or finishes. And three is just flashy passes, kind of finding guys who are open. And both of these cards, there are certain players who they really did justice to a lot of times in terms of Iverson, Vince Carter, Kobe, Jordan, Dennis Rodman. If you ever want, go look at Dennis Rodman pictures, especially from Ultra and these eras. Absolutely incredible. So, and these are not expensive cards to go track down, and I just think they're really, really cool. You can, if you're doing like player runs in your binder or something like that, you can do the player and put them all on like one page, or you could just do like a run of 3 years if you wanted to do that. Or obviously, I think I've considered actually doing like a full set collection of the gold medallions year over year, but I'm not sure I want to like spend that much money to pick up a player like Gilbert Cheney or something, when it all adds up.
Yeah, set runs are a pretty big commitment for sure. Ty, thank you so much for bringing platinum gold medallions back into the conversation and for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.